Hi everybody, it's Crystal. Today I'm going to be showing you a stitch tutorial. Now this is going to be called the Mix and Matched stitch tutorial. I'll have a playlist. This is actually my first one, but you'll see many more. What I'm going to do is start doing stitch tutorials of 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 stitches that all work well together, that you can use in a project, and you can actually mix and match them. Like, say you don't want them in the exact order that I have them, but you can put them in any order you want at any time, because they will all work with the same multiple. I'm hoping in the end that this will help people better understand multiples. So for this particular one here that I'm getting ready to show you, it does have 4 different stitches. So this stitch right here on the bottom is called the crowned shell stitch. And the multiple of this stitch is 6 plus 2. Remember that. This stitch that you see right here is called the ocean waves stitch. Now this has a multiple of 4 plus 2. Remember that one as well. This one right here is the drop sedge, and it has a multiple of 3 plus 2. And then this one right here is the 3D shell, which has a multiple of 6 plus 2. And then I just started to repeat it. This is the crown shells again. Now, when you think about that, the multiple of the first one was 6 plus 2. The multiple of the second one was 4 plus 2. The multiple of the third one was 3 plus 2. And the multiple of the fourth one was 6 plus 2. Now, they all do have different multiples, 3, 4, and 6. But they all do have a common factor. They what you have to do is think about, you have a multiple of 3, you have a multiple of 4, and you have a multiple of 6. Well, what number can I use combining those that they will all evenly go into, which is 12. So multiples of 6 will go into 12, multiples of 3 evenly goes into 12, and multiples of 4 evenly goes into 12. And they all have the plus 2 at the end. So all 4 of these stitches work together, and although they all have different multiples, all the multiples will work into one multiple of 12. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to set this to the side, and I'm going to show you how that's done. Since we determined that, the multiple was 6 on that one, 4 on this one, 3 on this one, and 6 on that one, that all those multiples could evenly be divisible by 12. So our new multiple for this particular stitch pattern right here is going to be 12. Plus the 2, because they all are multiples of 6 plus 2. Now, the best thing to do when you want to learn stitch multiples is try to memorize them the best that you can, because not all of them end with a 2. You know what I mean? But these all do, and I'm going to show you how they're all done. I do have a playlist of many stitches, but this is number 1 of my mix and match. Now, these are all, what we're going to do is, we're going to start with a slip knot on our hook. Now, as I mentioned, although they all have different multiples, they do have one in common. They were all evenly divisible by 12. So 12 is our new multiple. But remember, we do have to add that plus 2 because they all end in a plus 2. Now, these stitches were all worked on a base chain of single crochet. Since we're doing them all together, we only have to do 1 base chain of single crochet, and then we will start the stitches. So we only need to do the base chain 1 time, and then after that, all the stitches will fall in place like they're supposed to. All right, so if you want to follow along with this, depending on what you're wanting to make, we're going to do multiple 12, because we decided that although those all had different multiples, they are in common with the number 12. Evenly divisible by 12. So you want to just do multiples of 12 until you get your project as big as you want it to be. Maybe you want to make a scarf, maybe you want to make a blanket, maybe you want to make a top, maybe you just want to make this in practice. Whatever you want to do, just do multiples of 12. Now, once you get your multiple of 12, for the purpose of this tutorial here, I chained 36, which is a multiple of 12. And then remember, you do need to add your plus 2. So 38 is what I'm starting with. 36 is my multiple of 12, and I did explain how we got that. But they all end with a plus 2, the multiple of them. So I had to add that plus 2. Now, this first row is going to be our base row of single crochet. So it isn't going to count as a row, all right? We're just going to call it our base row. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a single crochet in the second stitch from our hook. We don't count the one that's on our hook, okay? So one and that one right there, we're going to single crochet. And then we're going to work one single crochet in every stitch across for the length of the chain. So our base row is just a row of single crochet. This is just a setup row. Each one of these stitches require well, the way I teach them, everybody does them differently, but when I teach the stitches, they all require a setup row of single crochet. So we're going to go ahead and do that. One single crochet in every stitch. Remember, this is the setup row, so we can start our stitches. And we only have to do this one time. After that, all the other stitches, they won't require a setup row, because this one right here is going to work for all the stitches. Okay, so I got my setup row or my base row of single crochet done. Now, whatever number you chained, you should have one less stitch now. So I chained 38, which was my multiple of 12 plus 2. And now I have a total of 37 stitches. All right. And that's the number that we're going to need to try to keep up with when we're working these stitches. Now, as I mentioned, these there's 4 stitches here. And you can do as many rows of each stitch that you want. And you can do them in any order. You do not have to do them in the order that I have them in. We have our base row set up for all 4 of these stitches. So no matter what stitch you start with, in what order you put them in, however many rows of each stitch that you choose, it will work with this one base row. We have our starter. So we can do any of these 4 stitches. You can make them as wide as you want, mix and match them. You can do the drop sedge, and then go down and do the crown shells, and then do the drop sedge again, and then do the 3D shells. However you want to do it. Do a big chunk of 3D shells and maybe one row of ocean waves. It's all up to you, because once you find your multiple, which we did, and we got our base row down, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want to do. That's why I'm calling it the mix and match. You know, you mix them, you match them, you make them as big as you want. All 4 of these are going to work, no matter which rows you decide to start, finish them, swap them out. You want these here, you want, you know what I mean? Just wherever you want to put them, they're always going to work out. So you don't have to follow the order that I'm doing. I'm just going to teach you how to do the stitches real quick, and then, but remember, you make them as thick as you want. You put them in a different order that I have them. You can put, and they don't even have to follow the same sequence the whole time. That's another good thing, like I'm saying, is like I have the crowned shells, I have the ocean wave stitch, I have the drop sedge stitch, and I have the 3D shells, and then I started with the crown shells again. And then, my next stitch would be the ocean waves. I don't have to follow that repeat. I could do, after the shells, I could have went straight to the drop sedge again if I wanted to. You know what I mean? You don't have to follow the same repeat. That's why they're the mix and match. Because like I said, once you get your multiple and your foundation row done, the sky's the limit. You do them any way you want. Any design that you want with these 4 stitches, all right? And don't worry, I'm going to do a lot of stitch mix and match or mashups like this. All right, so I just want people to hopefully better understand the multiple process. All right, here we go. Let's begin. So I'm just going to start mine with this, like I did this piece right here. Remember, you can, after you I show you the stitches. You mix and match them any way you want. So the first one that I'm going to be doing is the crowned shells. So like I said, we got our base row. You can do any one of the stitches that you want, but I'm going to start with the crown shells. Okay, so the crown shells takes 2 rows. All right, so it's a 2-row repeat for that. What we're going to do is chain 1 and turn our work. Row 1 of the crown shells stitch is 1 single crochet into the first 2 stitches. So there's 1 and there's 2. And then we're going to start the repeat. We're going to skip 1 and we're going to put 3 double crochets in the next. There's 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to skip 1 and we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of the next 3. Sorry about that. So you skip 1 and 1 single crochet in each of the next 3. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And that's the repeat. Again, we're going to skip 1 and we're going to put 3 double crochets into the next. There's 1, 2, and there's 3. And then we're going to skip 1 and we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of the next 3. So skip 1 single crochet in each of the next 3. And this is a pattern that we're going to repeat until we get to the last 3 stitches of our row. One more time, we're going to skip 1 and we're going to put 3 doubles into the next. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Skip 1 and 1 single crochet into the next 3. So I'm going to repeat this pattern until I get to the last 3 stitches of my row. All right, I've made it. And I have 3 stitches that remain. I just did 3 double crochets in that stitch. So we're going to end by skipping this 1 stitch and putting a single crochet into the last 2. So that is row 1 of the crowned shell stitch. And we will start row 2, which is the final repeat row. It's just a 2-row repeat. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And in the very first stitch, we're going to work 2 double crochets. So there's 1, and there's 2. And then we will skip 1, which is right here, and in the next 3 stitches, which happens to be the 3 double crochets from the previous row, we're going to put 1 single crochet in each of those. Just like that. And then we're going to skip 1. And in the next stitch, which happens to be the middle single crochet from the 3 single crochets from the previous row, we're skipping this one, and then the next one, we're going to work 3 double crochets into that same stitch. And that is the repeat for row 2 of the crowned shell stitch. Again, we're going to skip 1, and we're going to put 1 single crochet into the next 3. So it's similar to row 1. We're just doing it opposite of what we just did. And we're going to skip 1 and work 3 doubles into the next. 1, 2, 3. Skip 1, 1 single into the next 3. So we're going to repeat this pattern. Skip 1, 3 doubles into the next, until we get to the last 2 stitches of our row. All right, so I've made it to the last 2 stitches of my row. I have 3 single crochets that I just put there. I'm going to skip 1 and I'm going to end row 2 by putting 2 double crochets into the last stitch. And now for this particular stitch, you would repeat rows 1 and 2 for however thick you want this stitch to be in your project. For me, I did 4 rows of it actually, not count, I didn't count that base row, but there are 4 rows of it there. You do as many as you like, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next stitch. So that is the crowned shell stitch. You do that rows 1 and 2 of it that I just showed you. Repeat those 1 and 2, very easy, for however big of a chunk you want of this stitch in your project. All right. All right, so now we're going to start the ocean waves stitch, and we're going to start it over with row 1. Every time I do a new stitch, I'm just going to start it over with row 1. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now the ocean waves is actually a 1 row repeat, but it does take 2 rows to get that 1 row set up. So we'll go ahead and start with row 1, and we are going to start by putting 3 double crochets into the very first stitch. So there is 1, 2, and there is 3. And now we're going to start the repeat of row 1 by skipping 3 stitches. Skip, 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 and we will single crochet into the next. Then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go back into that same stitch there that I just single crocheted into, and I'm going to work 3 doubles into that same stitch. So you can see I'm working right into that same stitch. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And that's the repeat. You can see I single crocheted, chain 3, and 3 doubled all into the same stitch. So we'll begin our repeat again. We'll skip 3, skip, 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 and single crochet into the next. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Go back into that same stitch and work 3 double crochets. There's 1, 2, and there's 3. Repeat it again. Skip 3, skip, skip, skip. Single crochet into the next, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, go back into that same stitch and work 3 double crochets. There's 1, 2, and 3. And this is the pattern that we're going to repeat until we get to the last 4 stitches of our row. Skip 3, skip, 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 single crochet into the next, chain 3, and 3 doubles back into that same stitch. Just like that. All right, so I'm going to keep, this is what it starts to look like. I'm going to repeat this pattern until I have 4 stitches that remain. All right, so I've made it to the end of row 1 of the ocean wave stitch, and I have 4 stitches that remain. You can see them right there, 1, 2, 3, 4. What we're going to do to end row 1 is we are going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to put a single crochet into the last stitch, and that'll end row 1 of the ocean wave stitch. And this is what it looks like. Now row 2 of the ocean wave stitch is the repeat row of the stitch, so you could repeat this row number 2 for however thick you want this portion, this stitch to be. So we will begin row 2 by chaining 1 and turning our work, and we will work 3 double crochets into the very first stitch. There's 1, 2, and there's 3. Now what we're going to do is we are going to skip 2 stitches. Skip, skip. And then this double crochet here, that's right before this chain space, we're going to work a front post single crochet around it. So we're skipping these 2 doubles, and instead of going into the top of this double, we're just going to go around the post of it like that and work a single crochet. Just like that. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to work 3 doubles into this chain space, which is kind of set right behind now that post that we just did. Just yarn over and go right through that chain space and work 3 double crochets. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And that's the repeat. Again, we're going to come over here and we're going to skip 2 stitches. Skip, skip, and then we'll be at the double crochet that's right before the next chain space. And we're going to work a front post single crochet. So instead of going into the top of it, we just go put our hook right around the post of it and single crochet. And then we chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And now we have to work our 3 doubles. They go into the chain space that's kind of set behind now. That post stitch that we just did. You can pull it out with your finger if you'd like. But we just go right through the space and we work 3 double crochets. There's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. And this is what we're going to continue repeating for row 2. Skip 2 stitches, skip, skip, and then we'll be at this double crochet before the next chain space. Single crochet, front post single crochet, right around the post of it. Then we chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we need to go back into the chain space that's set right behind it kind of, and we work 3 doubles through that chain space. And that's it. We're going to keep repeating this until we make it to the last chain space here. We'll finish this out and then I'll show you how we're going to end it. But again, one more time, we're going to skip 2, skip, skip, and in this double crochet here before the next chain space, we put a front post single crochet, chain 3, go back into the same the chain space, it's right kind of behind it, and you work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and repeat this pattern, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the row. All right, so when you make it to the end of row 2, I just worked my 3 double crochets here in my last chain space, and we have 3 stitches left. We're going to skip 2 of them, skip, skip, and we're going to end with a single crochet into the last, and that will end row 2. And row 2 is the row that you keep repeating for the ocean waves stitch. So if you wanted to do it again, we would just repeat row 2. We would chain 1 and turn, and we would put 3 double crochets into that very first single crochet. There's 1, 2, and 3, and then you would skip your 2, skip, skip, and front post single around the next. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3 doubles into that chain space that's set right behind it. 1, 2, and 3. And again, so I'm just repeating, skip, skip, front post single into the next, row 2 of the ocean wave stitch, until I get it as thick as I want it to be on my whatever it is you're making. Just like that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and repeat row 2 until I make it to the end of the row, and then you might notice that the top needs to be straightened out. So we'll have to do that before we move on to our next stitch. So I'm going to finish out. I'm just repeating row 2 of the ocean wave stitch. You repeat it for however many times you'd like. My piece right here actually has 5 repeat rows of number 2. I did row 1 and then I did 5 repeat rows on number 2. But you do whatever you want. That's just an example. All right, I'm only going to do this one right here, and I'll meet back up with you. All right, so I've made it to the end of my ocean wave stitch. Now remember, you repeat row 2 however thick you want it to be. It is completely up to you. But once you get it as thick as you want it to be, you can tell that the top edge is not straight. Well, in order to incorporate more stitches, we do have to straighten out the top edge. You'll find from time to time, actually quite a bit, that a lot of the stitches will end with the edges not straight. So what we're going to do now is the straightening edge of the ocean wave stitch, so we can have a straight edge, so we can start our next stitch. All right, so to do this, you have to remember your chain count number. Remember, I said that it would be one less than what your chain count number was. I had a chain count. I started with a chain of 38 on my base chain, so 37 is what I had after I finished doing my base row of single crochet. So that's a number I'm going to have when I go across. So whatever your number was, that's the number that you're going to have. Now I'm going to show you how to achieve that real quick. So this is the ocean waves straightening edge stitch. Once you get it as big as you want it to be, you will chain 1 and turn your work. And we're going to start off. We're going to put 1 double crochet into the first stitch. 1 double crochet into the next stitch. 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. And 1 single crochet into the next. All right. Now we're going to start our repeat here. And we're going to put a single crochet into the chain space. Like that. And then we're going to come down here. So you follow the chain down. There is a single crochet here from the previous row. We're going to work 3 double crochets into that space. So there's 1. There's 2, and that makes 3, and that's going to be the repeat. So we're going to skip all this, and we're going to jump over here to this next chain space, and we're going to single crochet into it, like that. And then we're going to follow that chain down. If you do, you're going to wind up with a single crochet from the previous row. We're going to put 3 double crochets into that single crochet. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and we're going to repeat this again. So skip all this, and in this chain space it just gets 1 single. Follow that chain down, and you'll end up in a single crochet from the previous row, right in here somewhere. It doesn't have to be exact, but right around here. 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to go ahead and repeat this until we get to the last chain space, and I'll show you how to finish that last edge end over here. Again, skip all this, single crochet into the chain space, follow that chain space down, and you'll see that there's a single crochet here from the previous row. Just, like I said, it doesn't have to be exact, there's somewhere near it. Work 3 double crochets into it. So there's 1, 2, and there is 3. Now it's not going to be a completely perfectly straight edge, but it's going to be straight enough that we can start our next stitch on. Alright, so go ahead and repeat that, and I'll meet up with you. Do your single crochet in your last chain here, and I'll meet up with you here, okay? Alright, so I ended with single crochet here into my last chain space. The ending is not going to be the same as the beginning, because this was started with a single and it was ended with 3 doubles, so it's going to be a bit different. But to end it, what we're going to do is go back into this chain space and work 1 more single crochet, and then we're going to put 1 double crochet in these remaining 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. We're not going to do anything here into that single crochet from the previous row. We're just going to jump to these last 3 stitches and put 1 double crochet in each of those. Now that should give you the correct number. For me, it gives me 37 stitches, which is what I had after I did my base row of single crochet. So no matter what number you started with on your base chain, remember the multiple of 12 plus 2, you should have had 1 less, and that is the same amount you will have right now. If you follow that exact thing that I just showed you, you'll have that same number. Alright, so now we're going to start the drop sedge stitch, which is going to take 3 rows. The third row will be, it's just a 1 row repeat, but the third row will be the repeat row of it. So row 1, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we are going to single crochet into the very first stitch, and now we're going to start the repeat of row 1. We're going to skip 2 stitches, skip, skip, and in the next stitch we're going to work a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double crochet all into the same stitch. And that will be the repeat for row 1. So again, we'll skip 2 stitches, skip, skip. The next stitch will be a single crochet in the same stitch, a half double crochet, and in the same stitch, a double crochet. Repeat it again, skip 2, skip, skip, and in the next we do the same. It is a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double crochet all into the same stitch. Now we're going to go ahead and repeat this pattern until we make it near the end of the row. We skip 2, skip, skip, and next is going to be a single, a half double, and a double all into the same stitch. Alright, so I'll meet back up with you at the end of row 1 of our drop set stitch. Alright, when you make it to the end of the row, you should have 3 stitches that remain. We're going to skip 2, skip, skip, and we're going to put a single crochet into the last stitch. That'll be row 1 of the drop set stitch portion. Now we're going to start row 2. We are going to chain 1 and turn our work. And we're going to start out with a single crochet and a half double crochet into the very first stitch, like that. Now we have to do the drop double. So the drop double is actually worked 2 rows below. So here's where we just put our single crochet and our half double in. We want to go to this spot right below that, right there, and we're going to yarn over and go into that spot and draw up a loop a little bit taller, make it even with the rest of them, and then do a double crochet like normal. And that is the drop part of the drop sedge. So we're going to repeat. We're going to skip 2, skip, skip, and in the next stitch, which will always be the single crochet from the previous row, we're going to single crochet into it and half double crochet into it, and then we need to do our drop double. So we'll look again. This is the stitch that we just worked in. We want to work into the spot that this stitch is worked in. So right down here. Yarn over, go right into that spot, draw up a loop, draw it up a little bit taller than normal, and double crochet. And there's your drop double. Repeat it again, and we skip 2, skip, skip, and in the next stitch we are going to single crochet and half double crochet, and then we're going to drop double 2 rows below. If you kind of just pull it apart, you'll be able to see it very clearly. It needs to go right there. Pull it up a little bit taller, even with the rest of the stitches, and double crochet. And I'm going to repeat this till I get near the end of the row. Skip 2, skip, skip, In the next, we're going to single, and we're going to half double, and then we're going to do our drop double 2 rows below. So here's where we just worked in. We need to go in that spot right there. Alrighty, so I'll meet back up with you when we make it near the end of the row. Alright, so when you come to the end of row 2 here, you want to go into this single crochet here before the last one, and single crochet into it, half double crochet into it, and then we will do our drop stitch right down here, our drop double, and then we're going to end this row. There, you know, there's just 1 stitch left here on this row with the single crochet. All right, that ends row 2 of the drop stitch. Now row 3 is going to be the repeat row, where you can repeat this row as many times as you'd like to your desired drop stitch style. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. It's very similar to what we just did. We're going to put a single crochet into the first stitch and a half double into that first stitch, and we're going to drop down right here 2 rows down, and do our drop double just like that. Skip 2, skip, and the next stitch is a single crochet from the previous row, single crochet into it, and half double crochet into it, and again we're going to drop down 2 rows below. If you pull it apart, you'll be able to see it right here, and double crochet. So it's just like the last row, just the ending's a bit different, just like that. Skip 2, skip, single crochet, and half double crochet into that same stitch, and drop down 2 rows and double crochet. So I'm going to go ahead and skip and repeat this pattern until we get near the end of the row, and I'll show you what is a little bit different. And this is the repeat row that we're doing right now. Skip, single, half double, and drop double. Right there it is. Gets so easy after a while. This is a very pretty stitch. Alright, I'll meet up with you near the end. Alright, I'm coming to the end of row 3 of our drop stitch, and this is the only reason it's different than the other rows. Now you're going to have 3 stitches left, and you're just going to skip 2 and single crochet in the last. Now remember, you need to make sure that you have that same number as your beginning base chain after you finished it. Remember, I said I had 37, and if I count my drop stitches here at the top, I will have 37. That's the number that we need to keep. Now you can just keep repeating that row of drop stitches until you get your desired length. I think on this piece I just did, I might have repeated that 3 times. I can't tell. I can't tell. But you do it as many times as you want. I'm going to go ahead and repeat it one more time. So I'm going to single crochet. Remember, we're just repeating that previous row. Single crochet and half double into the first stitch. And then we are going to drop down and drop double. Just like that. And we're going to skip 2, skip, and single. And half double into that same one. And drop down. And double. Skip 2, skip, sorry. Skip. Next one. Single. Half double into that same stitch. And drop her down. Just pull it apart and you can clearly see right there it needs to go. Just like that. So I'm going to repeat this, what we did on row 3. Alright. All the way to the end. Alright, I'm coming to the end here, and again I have 3 stitches left. I'm going to skip them, skip, and single crochet into the last. Remember, that is just a repeat of row 3 of the drop stitch. You do that as many times as you'd like, however big you want that piece. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the final stitch of this 4-row mix and match, which is the 3D shells stitch. Alright, so it is a 2-row repeat, and then we will have to do a finishing edge on that so we can start again. So we'll start row 1 of the 3D shell stitch. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we're going to put a single crochet into the first stitch. Now we are going to skip 2 stitches. Skip, skip, and in the next stitch we're going to work a shell. But every time we work a shell, no matter what row you're on, we always work it in the back loop only. That's what gives it a three-dimensional appearance. So we skip our 2, and the shell for this particular pattern consists of 7 double crochets in the back loop. So we go ahead and do that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Then we're going to skip 2 again, skip, skip, and we're going to single crochet in the next, but we're going through both loops, just regular single crochet. And then we're going to repeat that. We're going to skip 2, skip, skip. The next stitch is going to be our shell, so we have to work 7 doubles in the back loop of the next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's 7. Skip 2, skip, skip, and single crochet, but we go through both loops just like normal, and repeat. Skip 2, skip, skip. We shell 7 doubles, but in the back loop of that stitch. So we're going to go ahead and repeat this until we get near the end of the row. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, skip 2, skip, skip, single crochet into the next. Alright, so that's kind of what it starts to look like. It gets a little bumpy looking, like the shells get a little poofy, and they're supposed to. So I'm going to go ahead and keep repeating this until I get near the end, and I'll meet back up with you. Alrighty, I'm coming to the end here. I did 7 doubles in the back loop. I have 3 stitches that remain. Skip 2 and single crochet into your last stitch, and that'll end row 1 of the 3D shells. And we're going to go ahead and start row 2. So rows 2 and 3 are the repeat rows. Very similar though. We're going to chain 1 and turn. This time though, we're going to start off with 3 double crochets in the first stitch, but we have to make them in the back loop of that first stitch. Because the shell, what we're doing is like a half a shell, so it has to go in that back loop. So there's 1, 2, 3 in that back loop. And now what we're going to do is find the middle double crochet of the next shell, which would be the 4th one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and single crochet through both loops of that stitch. And then we're going to skip these 3, 1, 2, 3, the single crochet down here. We're going to do a shell, but we have to do it in the back loop of that single crochet. So 7 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, we're going to go into the middle stitch, so you just have to skip 3 of the shell. 1, 2, 3, and the next one will be the middle one. It's the 4th one. Single crochet into it, and again skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and you'll be down here at the single crochet from the previous row. We're going to shell, but back loop only, so 7 double crochets into that single. So as you can see, it's pretty similar. So we're going to put 7 double crochets, that. Again, we're going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and the middle stitch of the shell, which would be the 4th one, we single crochet. Skip 3 again, skip, skip, skip. You'll be down here at the single crochet from the previous row, and in the back loop of it, we're going to work 7 double crochets. Now I'm going to go ahead and repeat this pattern until I get near the end of the row. Alright, I've come to the end of row 2 of my 3D shells. So I just single crocheted here. I'm going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and this is my last stitch. I'm going to work 3 doubles in the back loop of that last stitch. There's 1, 2, and there's 3. And now we'll start row 3, which is the final repeat. It's rows 2 and 3. It's very similar to row 1. We're just going to chain 1 and turn, and we are going to put a single crochet into the very first stitch, just like that. And then we're going to skip 2, skip, and you'll see a single crochet right here. We're going to put a shell in the back loop of that single crochet. Like that. And then we will skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and the middle stitch of the shell, we single crochet, and then we skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and right down here is the single crochet from the previous row. We're going to shell into the back loop of that stitch. So the only difference is kind of the 2 rows is how we start and how we finish them. Otherwise they're pretty much the same. Like that. Again, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into middle stitch of that shell, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and shell into that single crochet from the previous row in the back loop. Alright, so I'm going to repeat this until I get near the end of my row. Alright, so I've come to the end of the row 3 repeat, and I just did my shell. I have 3 stitches that remain. I'm going to skip 2 and end with a single crochet into the last stitch. Now you would just repeat rows 2 and 3 until you get it as big as you want it to be. One thing to remember though, when you are doing the 3D shell, and if you're doing it larger, you want to end on a row 3 repeat where you ended in a single and you started in a single. All right, now after you get it that big and you're ending on a row 3 repeat, we're gonna level off the top so you can start any one of these stitches again, because this is the final stitch of this particular mix and match. So what we're going to do is chain 1 and turn our work. So this is going to straighten that top edge. What we want to do is we want to put a double crochet into the very first stitch. like that. Now we are going to skip one stitch, all right? And we are going to put a half double crochet into the next, a single crochet into the next 3. There's 1, 2, 3, a half double into the next, and then we're going to skip this double, the last double of the shell, the single crochet down here. We're going to put a double crochet into it. And that is what we are going to kind of repeat. So we are going to skip the first stitch of the shell, and we're going to half double crochet into the next. And we're going to put 1 single crochet into the next 3. There's 1, 2, 3. We're going to half double crochet into the next, and then we're going to skip the last stitch of the shell, and then the single crochet down here, we're going to put a double crochet into it. And repeat. We're going to skip the first double crochet of the shell, and we're going to half double into the next, single crochet into the next 3, half double into the next, skip the last stitch of the shell, and then the single crochet down here, we're going to double crochet. Repeat it again. Skip the first double crochet of the next shell and half double into the next stitch, single crochet into the next 3. There's 1, 2, 3, half double into the next stitch, skip the last stitch of the shell, the single crochet down here, we are going to double crochet. Now we're going to repeat this all the way across, and as you can see, it straightens up the top a bit, so we'll be able to start our next set of stitches. All right, I'm coming to the end here, so I just did 3 single crochets here in a row, and then I did a half double crochet, and I'm going to skip the last stitch of the shell, and in the very last stitch of our piece we're going to double crochet. And that is how you straighten out the top of the 3D shells, and you still should have the correct number of stitches. Like me, I am working with the number 37, and that is what, if you, no matter what number you started with, if you follow that along, you will have the same number that you started with. And now what you can do is you can start any one of these 4 stitch patterns again. You don't have to start with this one down here. You can start with the drop sedge again, drop sedge stitch if you want again, and then go down to this one, and then do this one, then do this one, and this one, and this one, this one, this one, however you want to do it. Mix and match, because what we did once we got our common multiple, and we did our base chain, 1 base chain, that's all it took. All these stitches, no matter what order you put them in, are going to line up. If you do them, you know, the way I told you, you make them however big, you know, however many rows you want of this stitch, and this stitch, and this stitch. Maybe you want a small row of this stitch, and a thick stitch of this. It's up to you. And whatever you want to start with next. Like I said, maybe you want to do the drop sedge again. Start it up again. You got the correct number of stitches. You're always going to have the correct number of stitches, because it all started with finding that common number to make common multiple that they all had together. And that, by finding that and creating a base chain, that allows us to take these 4 stitches and make them anything we want by mixing and matching, making them as many rows as we want. The sky's the limit. You can make anything that you want now, because we were able to create that base row with these 4 stitches. All right, I'd love to see what you make. So don't forget to show me a picture on Facebook, and that's it. I hope you guys understood. I'll do more of these, okay? So over time it won't be so confusing, hopefully. But after a few repeats, you know, you know, you repeat yours however you want, but this is what it starts to look like. And as you can see, the edges stay nice and straight. Pretty straight, you know. Not bad, not bad. I can't say that there's anything bad about the edges. Looks nice. And I could keep repeating over and over. You know, I started the crown shells again, but who knows? Maybe I would go do the 3D shells again. If I wanted to, I could, because I have the correct number of stitches and it's all going to work out. Mix and match, all right? That's what it is. Mixing and a matching. Oh, they do look pretty similar on both sides. Pretty similar. Thanks everybody for watching. See you in my next video. Okay. Bye guys.